Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's John Phelps here today without my tripod to talk to you about going full-time as a musician, what that means, and are you ready to do it? We gon' be great, just give it time. I can't describe it, it's just a vibe. Yeah. As an independent creative, somebody with a dream, somebody with a passion, we oftentimes have these conversations with ourselves talking about, man, if I could just be a full-time musician, that would be exactly what I needed to do in order to get popping. As somebody with a lot of dreams and ambitions, we oftentimes tell ourselves that if we could just go full-time with our dream, it would all connect, it would all happen for us, and it would all pay off. And I'm here to tell you that that's absolutely valid and absolutely true. But you need to do some preliminary work to get yourself ready to be a full-time musician. A common misconception about being an independent musician and a full-time musician at that is that that's all you're doing. Well, here's the thing. Being a full-time musician is a lot of hard work. It's a lot of stuff that you don't even see on the end result. You only hear about it after it's been done. Most times we don't see the struggle that a lot of independent artists and full-time musicians have gone through. It's very easy to get caught up in the notion that if we took all our time and just put it all into creative endeavors, that it would all pan out. Here's what I'm going to tell you about that, is it's a misconception. There is a lot of groundwork that goes into getting ready to even be in that position. I'll put it to you like this. It was instilled in me from a very young age, from like 14, 15 years old, that you got to have a job, man. You got to have a couple jobs. You got to have some money in the bank. You got to have some money in your pocket. I mean, it was countless years of me having 2 jobs and a hustle every single year that I was able to chisel out something of an opportunity for myself to just be full-time with the music. And even as a full-time musician, making music in the studio, making beats, recording songs, writing songs is such a small part of what I do as a creative who's supporting themselves with music. A little bit of preliminary work. I would absolutely encourage anybody who's considering going full-time with music to consider how much money you have in the bank. How much money do you have saved up? How much of buffer do you have between yourself and poverty? How many months of rent do you have saved up? How much of your overhead can you viably pay off with just money that you've saved through years of work, years of saving? So make sure that you're being honest with yourself. If you have $100 in the bank, that $100 is going to be a lot harder to save and a lot harder to leverage your music career with than a couple thousand. If you've got 5,000 or 6,000, if you've got 10,000, if you've got something saved up just so you can go full-time with the music and not be, fucking homeless on the street the next week, then that's a great thing for you. But my whole point being that if you want to go full-time with music, you need to have some means of income. You need to have money saved up. This is just the way that it works, baby. You have bills, you have costs associated, and not only do you have personal bills, but when you become a full-time musician, to be consistent, you need to invest. This is the hard pill to swallow for a lot of people, is shit ain't gonna happen for free. Yeah, whether it's promotion, whether it's music videos, whether it's studio time, whether it's equipment, nothing is going to come free, and you need to have that money saved up. You either need to invest it into yourself to become vertically integrated and autonomous, or you need to have the cash so that you can spend that on resources for yourself. A lot of people think it's just enough to have a dream, and you know what? I applaud those people because that's just such a commendable perspective to have. But I'm gonna tell you straight up and down, in this real world, especially right now, bro, you gotta have that money on deck. You gotta have some racks to play with, because it costs a lot. And if you're not turning a profit, if you're not breaking even, you're just wasting your time. And you can take that chance on yourself if you want, but nobody who takes chances does so just completely blindly. Only a fool does that. You got to take chances, but based on, real observable fact. You can't just, run into this thing thinking you're going to pop off overnight and thus, quitting your job and having, fucking $300 in your bank account. You got to be realistic. You know, and this ain't me shitting on anybody's dream. This ain't me telling anybody that they shouldn't go full time with their music shit. It's just to say that you need to strengthen your funds, and you also need to develop a revenue stream with your music. One thing that I did when I started, on my journey to become full-time musician, I came up with ways in which I would make money with music. And it wasn't just from streams. It wasn't even just from, merch sales on my site. It's johnphelps.com. Check it out. But it was also things like rendering artist services for people, whether that's features, whether that's guitar parts, whether that's instrumentals, whether that's audio engineering and mixing and mastering. These are all things that if you've got the expertise, you can absolutely capitalize and leverage them for money. And to be honest with you, here's some of the pros of getting into music full time or getting into the creative industry that you're a good fit for. One of the pros of going full time into music, especially when you're learning how to leverage your skills into real monetary gain, you are now determining your hourly rate and you're justifying it through your experience. So thus, your time, the return money-wise for your time, is that much more increased because you're doing something that you actually have expertise in. You're not just pumping gas. You're not just working at a grocery store where you're limited to this much an hour. You are now in a creative field where you are actually very valuable. So you can charge $35 an hour. You can charge $40 an hour for your time and your skill. And once you have a certain aptitude, people are they're not as much paying for your time as they are paying for your ability and your flair and your taste. And these are all things that you can put any sort of dollar rate onto. And if you're the man or the woman or whoever you are, you can absolutely justify it just through your resume, your repertoire, your track record, your history. Those are all the things that come into play. And if you don't got those things, you got to get those things if you want to become a full-time musician. You need to have something that is justifying an hourly rate for you. Because if you are working full-time as a grocery store clerk and that's your rate and you ain't got no skills outside of that, well then you're a grocery clerk and you got to develop the skills. You got to build those skills. You have to perfect and fine-tune your approach. Now, again, this isn't at all me telling people not to follow their dream. In fact, it's telling you to follow your dreams, but just figure out how you're going to do it. Instead of jumping in unrealistically, just expecting everything to work out, how are you going to make it so things work out on your terms? Take the time to figure out what your strengths are. Take the time to figure out where you're most valuable. Take your time to figure out what your audience needs more of, and position yourself in a spot where you can provide that to them. Strengthen your revenue stream just through consistent content creation. Do some work where maybe you do take a little bit of a loss, but you get your name out there. Develop a style. Develop a sort of thing that separates you from the rest of people who do what you do. Don't just be an audio engineer, but be someone that when an artist comes to you, not only are they leaving with the song, but they're leaving with a clean version, a performance version, and it's mastered, it sounds great. These are all just ways that you can better position yourself to make some really good money doing what you already love to do. Once again, this is John Phelps. I want to thank everybody who's been checking out the videos. If you found this video to be helpful, go ahead, like, subscribe, drop a comment. Hit me up on all my social media. It's John Phelps. Take care of yourself and good luck.